There are moments in life we never forget.
All you sit up and look at me now. Yes, sir.
If you're a United States Marine, this is one of them. Receiving night is the Marine Corps welcome to recruit training and a small taste of what's to come over the next 13 grueling weeks.
That initial shock and to start building that discipline and let them know that they're not in Kansas anymore. They're here at MCRD San Diego.
Congress shall have the power to make rules.
Staff Sergeant Trevor Woodruff stood on these same yellow footprints 8 years ago.
My night, it was crazy. I was on the bus. I was thinking to myself, like I joined the wrong branch.
You leave my base without the proper authority, we will hunt you down and throw you in jail. Do you understand that?
Now it's Woodruff and the other drill instructor's mission to train 17,000 men a year.
Once they walk through those hatches, those doors, that their civilian life is over and that they will live a life dedicated to honor, courage, and commitment, and it will keep the traditions of the tens of thousands of Marines who've come before them.
Yes, sir! What you're gonna do is, you're gonna empty your pockets. Do you understand that? Yes, sir!
The only thing a recruit is allowed to keep during boot camp is religious scripture. He's stripped of everything else, including his hair and his sense of self. After calling home to say he made it to base,
the next time I contact you will be by postal mail, so expect a letter in 2 to 3 weeks. I love you, Mom.
He is not allowed to say I again, referring to himself only as this recruit.
45.
The screaming never ends. Intended to weed out the weak, only recruits with a fighting spirit and confidence rise above the chaos.
Everything ties into discipline, doing what we tell them to do. Because out in combat, if we tell you to duck, you shouldn't have to ask the question, who, what, where, why. No, it's duck. You do it right then and there.
Yes, sir.
That mental toughness is just as important as physical strength.
Stay down!
Recruits spend endless hours on both every day.
Everybody loves to be around Marines because they know wherever we are, nobody really wants to mess with us. But the only way we're going to do that is by putting in the work.
Every crunch, every mile, every obstacle designed to prepare them for life on the front line.
My job is to make them push themselves harder than they've ever pushed themselves, because when you come into a combat situation, you have to push your body beyond its what you think your natural limits are.
But no point of boot camp is more intense than the crucible, the final test of recruit training. Only those that make it through earn the title Marine. 3-day, 40-mile continuous march includes team obstacles and individual challenges, like how to ration 2 meals over the course of the event. By the time he reached the last hill, appropriately named the Reaper,
it was tough.
Sheboygan native Zach Schramm was starving and exhausted, but he kept climbing.
You go up the big hill with your day pack and your main pack on, so you have 70, 80 pounds easily on your back. You're going up this hill. You just have to remember, one foot in front of the other and keep going.
All the way to the top, where Zach and the rest of the recruits in his company earn the right to call themselves a United States Marine.
Being here today and saying that I did it, saying that I am a United States Marine, is something that I earned and nobody can take away from me.
When they stepped onto the yellow footprints 3 months ago, the task before them seemed nearly impossible. Recruit training was tougher than they expected. But so were they. In San Diego, California, with photojournalist Adam Hansen, Amy DuPont, Fox 6 News. For the nearly 400 men of Charlie Company, the road to boot camp graduation ends here, under the sunny skies of Marine Corps Recruit Depot, San Diego.
Did you guys see him at all?
No. I took tons of pictures.
After 13 weeks of intense training, all that stands between these new Marines and their loved ones is one more formation.
You see him? Do you see him? Oh, where? Where?
This is the moment.
Is that him? Hi, honey! Hi!
Private First Class John Leskinen
Can't wait to hear all about it.
I miss you guys.
has waited years for.
I've just always loved the Marine Corps.
His Marine Corps dream was a battle in itself.
It was a fluke accident.
The Waukesha native made a deal with his parents, go to college for 1 year and then enlist. Leskinen enrolled at the University of Northwestern in Minnesota and joined the football team. Then months before leaving for boot camp, a tackle went terribly wrong.
My knee popped out. I got a medical discharge.
First, surgery.
It was very frustrating.
Then months of rehab.
He talked about some disappointments, but yes, it's made him much stronger, and I'm proud of him for that.
It took nearly a year for John's knee strength to equal that of his fighting spirit, and for the Marine Corps to let PFC Leskinen join their ranks.
No one can come here totally prepared for what's going to happen.
Boot camp is grueling. Months away from home, and more miles than any Marine can count.
It was a lot physically harder than I thought it would be.
When John had doubts or moments of weakness, he leaned on his brothers in arms.
They push you past what you think you can do. It's very humbling. You really feel like you can't go another step, but they push you.
Which is why this family reunion,
Very, very proud and just so happy that he made it through that.
is well worth the wait.
I get emotional. So, I love him.
In San Diego, California, with photojournalist Adam Hansen, Amy DuPont, Fox 6 News.
Let me see your hands! Let me see your hands!
Bang, 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 bang.
At the St. Anthony School in Menominee Falls,
You guys ready? Moving.
hallways are filled with tactical units, classrooms
Hands up! Put your hands up!
become crime scenes. The situation may not be real,
Cover your face!
but for these moments,
Face me!
it sure does feel like it.
It gets your heart going and you get pumped up.
Okay, clear to the rear yet.
In here, every second counts. Hearts pounding,
Third rear!
minds racing.
Right classroom.
These officers are training to keep clear focus.
Right rear fire, guys. Get up there.
Let me see your hands! Let me see your hands!
When you practice something so often, it just comes second nature.
Kayla Mahuda is one of the newest officers on the Pewaukee Police Department. She's learning what to do and how to act if she's ever in an active shooter situation.
And you have to be able to trust who you're working with, and in order to get the job done thoroughly.
Don't move!
Trust that is strengthened between these 30 people. The FBI is training police officers from 16 law enforcement agencies from across the state.
The biggest thing is to be ready, to always be ready.
Special Agent Jay Darren guides officers in a 2-day rapid response training.
Show me your hands! Show me your hands!
For this scenario,
Brad, freeze it. Do you guys see that?
he is making sure no gun is missed, no shooter unseen.
I'm guessing you guys were up, right?
Darren has been training officers since 2013. It's part of a federal program following the Sandy Hook tragedy. The goal is to prepare more local law enforcement.
Show me your hands! Show me your hands!
These events can happen anytime, anywhere, and each and every officer needs to be ready for that event to happen in their community.
Key points:
We're teaching law enforcement officers how to isolate, distract, or neutralize an active shooter threat.
maybe easier said than done.
Some desks on the far side.
That's why this is so critical.
If they don't train it, they don't use it, they'll lose it. Any change in the hallway? No.
They use places like this as a backdrop.
You see all the kids' little drawings up on the wall and the little chairs in here and things like that.
It makes the scenarios more realistic.
I go into schools almost every single day when I'm out doing my work.
On me.
For Washington County Sheriff's Deputy Dan Halpin, everything he learns can be taken back to the department.
Clear center.
Spending however many hours we're here doing this to be able to prevent that in the future is well worth it.
For fellow Deputy Stephen Rupplinger,
it'd be a cop's nightmare if he didn't know what to do in a school shooting.
the lessons are invaluable.
3 up front, and then a double rear guard.
If I do the training now, it'll be muscle memory, and then if something happens in the future, I'll be prepared and my body will take over and know exactly what I need to do.
With every step taken, every word spoken,
What do you see? What do you got? Anything at all?
the officers will know exactly what to do to protect lives, hoping these scenarios will never become real. But they're ready if they do.
Bang!
With photojournalist
Bang!
Adam Hansen,
Bang!
Ashley Sears, Fox 6 News.
This is a story of a big jobs deal.
600 jobs is the biggest package we've had of pure outright jobs out there.
And what went wrong.
There is not a deal to make airplanes.
A story of broken promises.
I got crushed because I naively believed people.
That left taxpayers on the hook.
This is not a gift.
Nearly 6 years later, it could end in court.
We didn't see it coming.
It's a story of clipped wings.
This is a story of a project that didn't work out.
Superior is as far from Foxconn's Racine County site you can go and still be in Wisconsin, but they know about economic development deals too. In January 2012, Governor Scott Walker came here for the largest jobs announcement this area had seen since World War II. Wisconsin was in the airplane business. Kestrel Aircraft had left Maine to build a new 6-seat plane in Superior, where unemployment was 8%.
They're looking to grow, and we think there's a good prospect they can grow in the future.
The plant was meant for the Douglas County Fairgrounds.
My kids showed cattle here.
Mark Liebert, a farmer who's now county board chairman, called the whole thing a dream.
We were feeling like finally the state and us were together on a project. We were hopeful that it would work out for everybody.
Nearly 6 years after the governor's ceremony, there is no plant here, no 600 jobs. In fact, the fair still uses this property every summer. To do the deal, the Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation, WEDC, offered $22 million in tax credits and loans. Local governments kicked in nearly $3 million, plus land at the fairgrounds and another site. The biggest bet came from the Wisconsin Housing and Economic Development Authority, WEDA, pledging up to $90 million in federal tax credits. Hundreds of pages of documents show it fell apart within weeks. Kestrel now has 25 Wisconsin workers, not 600. It hasn't made a payment on the state loans in nearly a year and owes $648,000. The city of Superior is making $300,000 a year payments on the loan it gave to Kestrel.
There is a reasonable limit.
Jim Payne is the mayor.
I think it's fair to say that when you borrow money, you should pay it back. And I think none of the banks in town have any problem saying that to any of the homeowners in town.
There were other effects, too. The local technical college closed a program that trained people to work on the plane. Dave Crockett was one of the instructors.
I feel it was a loss. It was a loss to the state. I think it was a loss to the school for what it could have been here.
At Kestrel's headquarters in the old post office building downtown, CEO Alan Klappmeyer explained his side to me.
This is a story of integrity.
Klappmeyer puts the blame squarely on the state. He says Wisconsin failed to deliver some of the promised cash on time and didn't come through with other allotments at all.
The state did not do what it said it would do in the beginning, and then blamed us for them not doing what they said they were going to do first. And so for that, I suppose I would broadly put the blame on the governor, on WEDC, on WEDA.
Signed contracts do reference what Klappmeyer says he was promised. This one says Kestrel shall have received the rights to the money. But WEDA officials say they only promised to help the company pursue it. Some at the agency had doubts early on. In 2012, one warned there was no real way to guarantee an aircraft plant would be realized. The WEDA board chairman called the deal very risky and speculative. Klappmeyer says he needed the total package to move the project forward, and the $16 million that Kestrel did get wasn't enough. Where's the money?
Well, by where's the money, I assume what you mean technically is how was the money spent? And the money was spent primarily on salaries of engineers, so it was funding the company to do what we said we would do.
Kestrel first missed payments in late 2013. But as it turns out, Wisconsin wasn't done offering money. In April 2014, WEDC wrote a $10,000 grant so Klappmeyer could attend an air trade show in China. He backed away from the offer. Did you ask for the money?
No.
They were willing to give it to you? And you were the one who cut it short.
Exactly.
Nearly 6 years in, Klappmeyer says he has new hope the Kestrel will take flight. His company is redesigning a different plane that's in production, expecting to shift sales revenue into the Kestrel. Klappmeyer has a small parts facility, and there we saw the Kestrel, at least a mock-up version of it without wings. But none of that is happening in Superior, not even in Wisconsin. In fact, it's happening an hour and a half across the border in Minnesota. Klappmeyer, who sought state assistance in Maine and then Wisconsin, got a $1.5 million loan from a northern Minnesota board last year. He hasn't touched the loan. So would he move Kestrel to Minnesota?
The thought certainly crosses my mind.
This month, WEDC started legal action against Kestrel, but has not gone to court. WEDC declined a comprehensive interview, and its CEO was vague when I asked about his plans.
So we'll continue to pursue whatever rights we have to protect the investment that we made.
Klappmeyer acknowledges Wisconsin could put him out of business by pursuing the loans in court and says he bet his future on the plane.
Will it work? I hope so, because it's my life that's on the line here, not the state's. If it doesn't, will the taxpayers get all their money back? Certainly not.
It was a big bet for Wisconsin and especially for Superior, and it leaves people like Mark Liebert unsure if they'd do it again.
This is a story of a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. This really was our chance.